Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, the climate agenda is facing headwinds everywhere, not just in the United States. Concerns about cost of living and job security rank high in people's minds. Businesses are reviewing their sustainability goals amid heightened economic uncertainty. And governments are recalibrating their climate commitments. But ultimately, it's nature that sets the timeline for climate action, not electoral cycles, not business cycles. And nature's message cannot be ignored. Extreme weather events, wildfires, floods, heat waves are becoming more frequent and more severe. And the worst is yet to come. As the glaciers recede, ocean currents weaken, and the polar ice caps melt. We will be forced to act. The world will act. Politics and economics will be forced to act. But the longer we delay, the more disorderly the eventual transition will be. Climate action will be of particular criticality in Asia for two reasons. First, Asia is where the fight against climate change will be won or lost. Not in America, not in Europe, it's in Asia. Asia accounts for 50% of global emissions. 90% of the world's future growth in energy demand will come from Asia. Rapid growth, urbanization, industrialization. More than 150 million people in Asia today still lack access to electricity. So we need to address that. That's where the energy demand is coming. So without decarbonizing Asia, the world will not reach net zero. Second reason why Asia is important. Asia will suffer the most from climate change in lives as well as livelihoods. By 2080, over 1 billion people in South and Southeast Asia could be affected by extreme heat. Asia's climate-induced losses could reach about 40% of GDP by 2100. Yet, Asia remains severely underfunded to drive decarbonization and build climate resilience. Asia's funding gap for climate mitigation and adaptation stands at over $800 billion annually. Public capital is willing, but insufficient. Private capital is ample, but unwilling to commit in a big way because the risks are too high, or rather the risks are not commensurate with returns. So this is a time for philanthropy to play a larger role in driving climate action in Asia. A partnership across public, private, and philanthropic capital can help to effectively plug the gaps in Asia's climate finance. But the climate philanthropic space remains at a nascent stage. Globally, less than 2% of philanthropic giving goes towards preventing climate change. Of this 2%, only 12% goes to Asia, despite the region's outsized needs. And when engaging philanthropies, I often hear that they're unsure where to direct their resources in the climate space, and it's true. There are not enough vehicles and pathways, but they are developing. Let me outline 3 areas where I think philanthropic capital can support climate action. Crowding in private capital, enabling public goods, and ensuring a just transition. First, crowding in private capital for decarbonization projects. Decarbonization projects are often capital intensive and require large upfront investments. This goes beyond the capacity of any single stakeholder. Philanthropies can leverage innovative funding instruments, such as blended finance, to maximize the impact of their contributions. The premise of blended finance is to use concessional capital to de-risk and crowd in multiples of commercial capital. This concessional layer coming from philanthropic capital, but also public capital, accepts first loss and lower returns, thereby catalyzing significantly more private capital. Compared to direct grants that philanthropies may give, blended finance allows philanthropies to amplify the impact of their giving because for every dollar they put in, they are crowding in multiples of private capital. Let me make a pitch for Singapore's FAST-P, or Financing Asia's Transition Partnership. FAST-P is a blended finance platform to support green and transition projects in Asia. From phasing out coal and strengthening grid infrastructure to electrifying transportation and decarbonizing industrial processes. The Singapore government has pledged $500 million as concessional capital to be matched dollar for dollar by other sources of concessional capital, from sovereigns, from aid agencies, philanthropies. The aim is then to use this $1 billion base of concessional capital to crowd in 4 times more private capital for a total fund size of $5 billion. FAST-P has already attracted philanthropic funds from partners such as the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet, GAAP, the Asian Development Bank, and allied climate partners. Second way in which philanthropy can contribute to climate: enabling basic public goods for climate action, such as data and research. Many parts of Southeast Asia lack sufficient climate data. This hinders mitigation and adaptation efforts. Philanthropies can fund data collection, enhance access to data, and build capacity in data analysis. Let me share 3 specific examples where philanthropies can help and are helping. First, the Global Mitigation Potential Atlas. This is a digital tool and a map that identifies cost-effective emissions reduction opportunities. It's developed by an international consortium of researchers and piloted in 9 Southeast Asian countries. It is now being expanded to the United States, China, and Australia. Workshops have been conducted for officials in Southeast Asia on using this tool, and this is really a cool tool, to help develop actionable decarbonization projects. Second, the Climate Action Data Trust. This is another digital platform, but this enhances the transparency of carbon markets. Established by Singapore, the World Bank, and the International Emissions Trading Association, the platform aggregates and standardizes carbon credit data covering 85% of all credits issued globally. A much needed platform for transparency and to restore confidence. Third example, the Cambodia Mekong Delta Aquifer Project. This project uses science-based assessments to address sustainability challenges in the lower Mekong Basin. Funded by the Global Environment Facility, this project aims to expand enhanced resilience in agriculture, drinking water, and biodiversity for millions of people in Cambodia and Vietnam. Philanthropies are in a good position to work with the scientific community, multilateral agencies, and national authorities on transboundary climate risk assessments that often falls through the cracks. This is an area very few of us understand, but how climate change in other countries will affect us. Third way, to ensure a just transition for communities. The transition to a low-carbon economy will disrupt communities and livelihoods. Decarbonization entails changes in long-standing economic activities, be it changing agricultural practices or phasing out fossil fuel power generation. We need to reskill workers affected by these changes and empower communities to ensure that they're able to navigate the transition. Philanthropies are well placed to support this, support just transition, given the experience working directly with communities. Let me share 2 examples of just transition. We just saw that video, Temasek Life Sciences Laboratory, which is seeking to decarbonize rice cultivation while securing the livelihoods of smallholder farmers by improving their food security. Really an inspiring example and a much needed thing in Southeast Asia. Second, the Coal to Clean Credits Initiative has stipulated that 2% of the revenues from carbon credits generated by the early phase-out of coal should go into redeploying displaced workers, coal workers, into new jobs. Let me conclude. Amid the disruptions entailed by the transition to a lower carbon world, we need philanthropy to help communities successfully navigate the change. Amid the growing risks to lives and livelihoods from the climate crisis, we need philanthropy to help communities adapt and thrive. Philanthropy cannot do all this alone. Governments must play their part. The business community and private capital must step up. But philanthropy can be the catalyst to forge new partnerships, to enable the collective action necessary to safeguard the future of our planet and its people. The Greek root of the word philanthropy means love for humanity. And this is what philanthropy brings to the table of partnership, where there is division and fragmentation and narrow interests, to be a force for the collective good of humanity. Thank you very much.